Hello, welcome to a new edition of the Right Wing Populist Podcast. I am the Right Wing Populist. So today I wanted to talk about Trump's approval rating increasing in many recent polls. Most notably, the most accurate pollster in the country over the last 10 years, more than 10 years at this point. Someone who's, by the way, has promoted my website, I must say, so I may be biased in that sense. But Richard Barris, People's Pundit, of Big Data Poll, he did a show with Robert Barnes called "What Are the Odds?" I highly recommend that show. I highly recommend following both of those two gentlemen, Richard Barris and Robert Barnes. They're both patriots, and they both nailed the 2024 election in their predictions. But Barris was tracking Trump's approval rating over this past weekend, and he found that during, once the LA riots started, getting heated, Trump's approval rating spiked. More so, actually, what he said is that Trump's disapproval rating tanked once all these riots started taking place in LA. And Barris basically said that he thinks that the riots is a big reason why we saw a spike in Trump's approval rating over the weekend. And, that would make sense. The riots they're not helpful for the Democrats politically, and they're only helpful for Trump politically. This is not going to be a repeat of 2020 when you had the summer of love, the love of violence and looting. That's what the summer of love was, when you had all those Black Lives Matter riots/protests, but they were really riots, let's be real. Took place during the summer of 2020. And, Trump has even admitted that to some degree he mishandled those riots in 2020. And that's why he's been much more aggressive this time around to try to put an end to them. And Trump even talked about this directly, and I will play the clip of him discussing it right now.
You remember, I've been here before, and I went right by every rule, and I waited for governors to say, send in the National Guard. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it, and they just wouldn't do it. It kept going on and on, got worse and worse. And in Minneapolis, that city was burning down 7 days, and I said, I don't care. The governor, who's a governor that just happened to be running for vice president in total, you talk about an incompetent governor, he's an incompetent person. That he was picked. Well, I was actually very happy he was picked for other reasons. But this guy wouldn't call the National Guard. And we ultimately just sent in the National Guard. We stopped it. But that was after 7 days. And I said to myself, if that stuff happens again, we've got to make faster decisions because they don't want to do it. The radical left, it's usually radical left, and it's usually governors that are Democrat, and they don't want to call them in. They don't want to save lives. They don't want to save property. They don't want to call them in. I don't know what it is. We sent them in, not early. We sent them in late as far as I'm concerned. But big problems, as you know, 3 nights ago, big problems were ensuing. If we didn't send in the National Guard quickly, right now, Los Angeles would be burning to the ground.
So you can bet the fact that Trump took decisive action quickly as opposed to 2020 is a reason why we're seeing a spike in Trump's approval rating. And it's not just in Barris's poll. Morning Consult yesterday came out with a Trump +6 approval rating. 50% approve, only 44% disapprove. It was an 8-point increase from their last poll. Now, Morning Consult's a garbage poll, don't get me wrong. But they're garbage in the fact that they're always biased against Trump. That's what makes this new approval rating so remarkable. They've always underestimated Trump. I mean, when Harris replaced Biden, I think a week after Morning Consult released a bunch of new swing state polling, they had Harris up 12 in Michigan, Morning Consult. I mean, they had her up 12 points in Michigan, which was just insane. You cannot post a +12 result in any direction in Michigan and do that with a straight face. That's just Michigan. 20 years ago or so, you could maybe say a Democrat could be favored by 12. I think Obama won Michigan by roughly a 12-point margin in 2008, and I think, about a 10-point margin in 2012. So, maybe, 15, 20 years ago, a Democrat plus 12 result in a Michigan poll wouldn't be crazy. Unlikely, but wouldn't be crazy. But 2024, that's just not a serious result. Michigan's one of the top swing states. It's probably slightly Democratic leaning, particularly at the Senate and governor level as opposed to the presidential level. It probably is still a slightly Democratic leaning state, although the demographics in Michigan, I think, are favorable to Republicans going forward. But yes, historically, it is a Democrat leaning state. But the fact that Morning Consult would put out poll results with Democrats or, in Michigan up 12 points, Kamala Harris up 12 points, just absurd. And by the way, Harris lost Michigan by over 80,000 votes. It was close, obviously, but it wasn't like Trump's 2016 victory in Michigan when he won by, 10,000 votes, by like 0.3% or something. There was an actual margin in 2024. So the point is the fact that Morning Consult has Trump's approval rating as a positive from the past weekend, again, is a very good sign for Trump, and it's very telling that people do not like riots. These riots are not good for the Democratic Party. If I wanted to create a script of how the Democratic Party could lose the 2026 midterms, it'd be by them defending these riots. And that's what they're doing. They're criticizing Trump for, trying to send in troops, the National Guard. They're defending these illegal immigrants, these criminals, okay? Not only are they criminals for crossing the border illegally, which people don't talk about. Anyone who crosses the border illegally is a criminal. They're breaking the law. Criminal might be too harsh of a word in a sense, but, anyone who crosses the border or, overstays their visa, they are breaking the law. Now, I get it. A lot of those people are productive members of our society once they get here. So I'm not saying we should deport all of them, although maybe we should, but I'm not even saying that. I'm not saying we should, but maybe we should, but I'm not saying we should. That's my Trump impression. But a lot of these people also commit crimes from the country, and those are the people that Trump is targeting first. And these Democrats, these libtards, these losers are defending these criminal illegal immigrants. It's like the Garcia guy from El Salvador. This guy is a wife beater. He had child pornography on his computer or something. And he just got, they've brought him back to charge him with these crimes. And this guy was the person the Democrat Party was defending for 2 months. Illegal immigration illegal immigration is the least popular it's been in decades. People are sick of it. During Trump's absence, those 4 years with Biden, with the completely open border, totally soured the American people on illegal immigration. It's why you'll see polls that the public, by over 50%, supports deporting all illegal immigrants, not just the people who commit crimes in the country, but just anyone who's an illegal immigrant. People support deporting. We're sick of it. We don't want illegal immigration. We want a secure border. So the Trump administration wants this battle. They want this battle over the riots. They want this battle over ICE and illegal immigration because it benefits them. And it's a very effective strategy for the administration and the Republican Party for them to outperform expectations during the midterms. If the midterms are a referendum on Trump's handling of illegal immigration, the Republicans will win the 2026 midterms. Mark my words. If that's what the midterms is about, a referendum on Trump's immigration policies, Republicans will keep the House and expand their Senate majority. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen. The Democratic Party will have many tricks up their sleeves to not make it about illegal immigration. They can't be that stupid. But if that's what the midterm is about, Republicans are going to do very well in 26. So, and the other thing is, why is Gavin Newsom putting his neck out like this, sticking his neck out for illegal immigrants if he really wants to run for president? He is dooming himself at the national level. This may be popular in very, very far left circles to defend the riots, but this is if he ever got to a general election, which I don't even know if he can at this point, but if he ever got to general election, what he's doing right now will come back to bite him in the ass. Because again, people are sick of illegal immigration. This is not playing well for the Democrats, and they know that. They know that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this develops going forward. Apparently, there's plans for more anti-ICE protests across the country in the next couple of days. If that devolves into more riots, obviously, I don't want to see that. Riots are bad. I don't want riots. 2020 was very, stressful for a lot of Americans. So I don't want to see a total repeat of that. But if that happens, it just plays right into Trump's hands. And I mean that as a positive because I support cracking down on illegal immigration. It's ridiculous. And one last thing before we go, it does look like Elon and Trump, at least Elon to some extent, are sort of reconciling. Elon tweeted today that he apologized for some of the things he said about Trump and he admitted that he had gone too far. So that's nice to see. You know, it was sad to see Trump and Elon break up, especially over Pride Month, so they could get back together before Pride Month ends. That would be very fitting. That'd be kind of fitting, right? So all jokes aside, that's good to see. I don't really want to see Trump and Elon go to war. Two of the most powerful people. We don't want to see that. Elon, he definitely helped Trump win the election. He's not the reason Trump won. That was obviously a retarded thing for Elon to say. But he is autistic, so maybe we can give him a pass. But he definitely helped. If nothing else, just buying X helped Trump win. So the fact that Elon's making comments like that is very good to see. And if he continues apologizing, Trump will forgive him. That's the type of guy Trump is. You could say the worst things about Trump, but if you apologize and you kind of grovel to him, Trump will take you back. He will. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Please subscribe. You can subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Subscribe to the website. And yeah, thank you for listening. Bye bye.